Hello everyone. Welcome to the University of Hong Kong's Faculty of Science Summer Leadership Forum, Why Science Matters in Nurturing Leaders. My name is Matthew Evans and I'm the Dean of Science, and I'll be facilitating this forum today. The fallout from the coronavirus pandemic is unprecedented. It is slowing industries across the globe to a crawl. But at the same time, we see many great leaders taking extraordinary actions to cope with the challenges that are posed. This crisis has made it clear that leadership is a cornerstone of helping institutions or companies, be they huge or small, get through hard times successfully. And actually, there are common qualities for science professionals and leaders. They both must possess superb analytical abilities and logical thinking. They're perseverant, resilient, and innovative. They have strength in addressing problems and formulating solutions. These are all transferable skills sought by all employers and essential for career development. Indeed, we need more leaders, not fewer, with science backgrounds, because science has a vital role in shaping our society. And it's important to have accurate scientific knowledge to develop and build a sustainable and prosperous future. I have four science alumni with me here today who will be doing most of the talking, and I shall introduce them one by one. First of all is Mr. Desmond CHU. Desmond is the director of Procter & Gamble and serves on its Hong Kong and Taiwan business, specializing in brand strategizing. Previously, he pursued an internal secondment by taking on a senior managerial role in the Greater China market, where he oversaw the financial planning and entire operations of Vidal Sassoon, including end-to-end management of supply chain, sales activities, and service and financing support. Before joining Procter & Gamble, Desmond started his career with the consulting industry, focusing on consumer products and retail consulting. With a never settle attitude, he earned a first-class honors bachelor's degree in risk management from HKU and a Master of Science degree in investment management from HKU ST. He is also studying a Master of Law in HKU now. Hello, Desmond. Next up, we have Dr. Kenneth LAI. Dr. Kenneth King Yin LAI is currently a founder and manager of a few technology companies in Hong Kong and China, including Novus Life Sciences. He obtained his BSc and PhD degrees at the University of Hong Kong. He majored in animal and plant biotechnology during his undergraduate studies and started his venture in a biotech startup in early 2014. During these few years, he and his team have received a number of international awards and recognition, including being selected as in the world's top 20 startups by CNBC in 2014. He received the National Prize French Tech Ticket from France in 2017 and was awarded the Global Champion in one of the biggest startup competitions organized by the Chinese government in 2018. Dr. LAI has also been active in his kind of scientific publishing life, has 10 international journal articles and book chapters, as well as being the inventor of 4 international patents. Next with us is Dr. Data Ng. Data is a physicist, biohacker, and entrepreneur in Asia. He co-founded Printact in 2013, focusing on robotic and automation, and BioX in 2017, which is a biotech education provider and equipment manufacturer in Asia. The startups are funded by Cyberport in Hong Kong and SGI Innovate in Singapore. His projects ranging from educational biotech equipment to automated bubble tea machine won and featured in many competitions and hackathons such as the Global Top 100 Startups of Alibaba Jumpstarter, Champion of Hack Train at MTR, National Challenge Cup, Startup Weekend, and Global Top 100 Startups of HKSTP Elevator Pitch Competition. Data obtained a PhD in Positron Physics and Biophysics, and with his BSc from the University of Hong Kong, where he majored in physics and finance and minored in astronomy. Finally, we have Ms. VESTA Eresta Jaya. VESTA holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Hong Kong, where she double majored in molecular biology, biotechnology, and marketing. She is a regional brand manager at a pharmaceutical company, responsible for the development and implementation of strategic marketing and brand plans for the emerging markets. She led a number of regional projects, collaborating with therapeutic areas, key opinion leaders for drug launches, development of digital products to enhance patients' experience. Prior to Astellas, VESTA worked as a researcher for a think tank on economic issues in Southeast Asia and a PR and communication agency serving healthcare clients. Now working within multinational and virtual management structures amidst the pandemic, she's an advocate for the use of innovative digital technologies in disease education for better patient outcomes. Welcome all of you to this forum today.
Thank you.
So I'm going to kick off with a few questions to you that I think our viewers will be interested in. The first is to invite perhaps VESTA, perhaps leadership after the COVID 2019 outbreak. Obviously, we're in this pandemic at the moment. We've been sharing how our lives have been changed by that. But can we kind of imagine what life's going to be like after the outbreak? What do we think leadership's going to be like after that? Right.
Yeah. Well, let me start by saying that this time during COVID has been particularly hard for everyone, as we are going through so many unprecedented changes. So it's changed the way that we interact with our friends and families and loved ones as well. And I think Data can speak on this more on how it shifted the way that we live, hence also the economy itself. And same thing goes with businesses as well. A lot of us are forced to rethink the way we conduct our day-to-day operations, the way we interact with our customers as well. So what's been helpful for us in managing and mitigating this in terms of thinking how we move forward in such a uniquely uncertain circumstance is truly a leadership that goes back to the vision of the company, as it links to who you're serving and who are your most important stakeholders as well. And that also extends to what leadership would be like post-COVID situation. And I guess in marketing, you call it customer centricity as well. In healthcare leadership, we call it patient centricity, because it's what we're dealing most on a day-to-day basis. What we impact most on is mostly the patients as well. So before we think about any sort of mitigation plan as well that extends beyond this post-COVID era as well, we need to have that conversations with our most important stakeholders, our patients in this case as well, or our healthcare practitioners that we're working with on a day-to-day basis, on what they need truly before we think of the plan itself. So in some countries, for example, we would like to support our healthcare workers in fighting COVID by refraining from any sort of interactions that is non-essential with them, because any time that we spend talking to them as well is the time taken away that otherwise would have been spent on them treating COVID patients as well and saving lives as well. However, in other countries, for example, the education on drugs and treatment choices and diseases become increasingly essential as well. So there is a need for us to act fast and strengthen our relationship by quickly setting up the digital channels as well with HCPs through non-face-to-face interactions as well. So really the takeaway is to have that leadership within your own teams and within your own countries as well, and yourself, to thoroughly evaluate the needs of your customers or your most important stakeholders as well, and ultimately the patients, so that you could really mitigate what you need to do as well, and plan what you need to do both in the immediate term and also in the scenarios that lie ahead as well.
Great, that's very impressive data. I think you had something you wanted to say about this matter.
Yes, and thank you. And I think one of the situations we need to deal with is we're facing a new economic change called low-touch economy after the COVID-19. This economy is shaped by new habits and regulations based on reduced close contact interactions and tighter traffic and hygiene restrictions. And for example, the government limited our gathering, travel restrictions, required more hygiene and protect vulnerable groups. So there's a new habit and behavior will stick, like remote working, mixed work-life balance, access to e-commerce and logistics, and also e-health. And there are many shifts we can see nowadays, just like for sports, we have Formula 1 and in wheels, but now because of COVID-19, it changed to esports with a real driver. And there are many things like for the logistics inside the hotel, it's delivered by the robot rather than the real people. So there's several shifts we need to change, just like geopolitics, like there are more protectionism for different countries. The macroeconomic is going to change, just like the economic recessions, and more new regulations, new privacy law, and there are more contentless technology going to tackle the regulations. And most importantly for leaders, there are many new industrial dynamics, just like more localized supply chain and more customer behavior. So one of the key features impact after the COVID-19 for the leaders is work from home. And there's new meaning for individuals and families, figure out the new way to balance their work life within the comfort of their space. Just like for students, they need to study at home and their parents need to work from home. In Hong Kong, the space is very confined, so there's many conflicts. So the leader need to think of something to offer their collaborator and also college to cope with this problem, like the new working mode, like remote working, remote meeting, and remote desktop, and maybe offer some new policy and benefit to the worker, just like new insurance policy. And the worker need to also rethink about their careers, just like the leaders need to provide more remote training and reskill for their workers. And even the worker may need to, the employer need to hire more part-time worker and freelancers, and even allow their work from home worker to have a side business, because the business is downturning, so there's not much resources for them. And the retail need to facing very challenging situation, just like however, the regular retail will not vaporize, but evolve, just like they will offer specialized delivery solutions, just like drop points for frozen cooler foods, and more localized and optimized supply chain. And also, there's many legal battles facing for the employer and the leaders. So there's more automatic legal work and tools need to learn to use by the leaders. So that's my sharing.
So just to comment briefly on that, I think are you suggesting? I think you're both suggesting that there might be some continuation of, I think the phrase Data just used was kind of low touch approaches to working even after this pandemic's finished. So I think some people are thinking of these technologies as responses to the pandemic, but from what you've just said, I think you're both suggesting that they might persist beyond the pandemic, and so perhaps not necessarily direct responses to the pandemic, but are kind of facilitated by our kind of current way of our society operates at the moment. Would that be too much?
I don't think so, because some tools that are existing for age, just like the Zoom meeting we are using for the virtual meeting, but some people using the Zoom as a virtual dating because they are limited gathering in nowadays. So I think it's more about how the leader make the thing useful and resourceful.
I see. Did you want to say something, Vesta? I thought you were trying to say something a minute ago. We seem to have lost Vesta's sound.
Sorry.
Coming back.
I think, hi. No, absolutely. I think you're right in terms of all of these responses that businesses are currently undertaking right now in responding to the COVID situations by businesses. It's something that will persist not just during the pandemic, but also right after as well, because it's already changed the way we interact or the way we work with our colleagues as well. With increasingly more, we're more familiar as well with working remotely as well, collaborating remotely with our colleagues. So I think remote work and collaboration will become ever important as well, and it's something that will persist after the COVID. So it's really important for us to become very agile as we navigate through this uncharted territory.
Thank you. Yeah, I should have pointed out to the people watching that VESTA is actually dialing into this meeting from Tokyo. The rest of us are in Hong Kong, so we're very much in a kind of dispersed mode for this meeting. Anyway, let's move on to another aspect of this question. People say that leaders can be born sometimes, or sometimes they can be grown. If leadership could be nurtured, I wonder if acquiring a scientific mindset is an indispensable kind of good thing for leaders, as they somehow like to act like scientists in a way. They hunt for evidence, they look for problems, they collaborate, they strive to discover innovative ways of doing things. So my question is, how should leaders apply this scientific mindset in their career? I wonder, perhaps Desmond, you might tackle this question.
Yeah, I think there are two key life-changing scientific mindset for me. The first one is the evidence-based and data-driven logical deduction. I think this is also key comparative advantage for science graduate. We use a lot of data and evidence-based to think about the situation and how we look about the problem. I think this also helped me to solve a lot of issues during my career and make huge intervention and progress. Let's have a hypothetical example. Say one of our category performance is not doing well, like for example, hair care. Normally people may think it may due to like recent outbreak of the virus, people are not coming out to buy products. For us science students, we will use the scientific mindset to look about the situation. We break it down the problem into layer, collecting evidence and data. Like we will break down about the situation, like it is due to specific brands, like without a spoon and shoulders. It is due to different kind of brand forms, like shampoo is not doing well or conditioner is not doing well. It is like what people say about the traffic to the store, like people are not coming out, so it impact your business, or it is due to like market landscape. Competitors are doing huge promotion. So you name it, we break down to the situation into different layers, different root cause, and we collect the data and prove it. So I think this is key comparative advantage for science mindset to apply in career. So this help us to solve issues and make our career, like in FMCG, also consulting, could apply this scientific mindset. So the first one is the evidence-based and data-driven logical deduction. Second, I think, is about growth mindset. It's right for discovery and intervention. I'm not sure if anyone read the book about growth mindset and fixed mindset. I find science education hugely influenced about the growth mindset, which in short summary is we think about the future, how it should look like, rather than limited by resources or boundary. Like in my work, I always ask myself, what is the ideal cases, what is the ideal situation, and what it takes to make that happen. Take maybe laundry, for example. In the past, most people may be satisfied with the laundry powder and liquid when they compare to the soap to clean the clothing. They think it is already more convenient. For us, for scientific mindset, we will think about what if there are more convenient ways we can clean our clothes. For example, you put a small pot in the washing machine, then it is all done. So this is exactly the intervention of the laundry pot we intervened in recent years. This is how science mindset keep growing and think differently and challenge ourselves. That's why you can see most of our science graduates are the pioneer of different industry, also make different innovative solutions. So with these two life-changing mindset from what I learned during the university, one is the evidence-based and data-driven deduction, and second one is the growth mindset. I hope all the science graduate and students could apply and think about it, using it after graduation. I think these are the two critical scientific mindset we can apply.
Okay. Kenneth, what would you think was your answer to that question?
Yeah, I completely agree with Desmond. And on top of his idea, I have also two little points to add on. One is the leader, the most important scientific, they should possess scientific thinking. The process is very important. What I mean scientific thinking process is, first, we should have the problem looked, where we should find out what is the problem of the situation. And then we should think of the hypothesis to tackle the problem. And then we have to take actual action to prove it. Why I think the leader should have this kind of scientific thinking, because every problem when we are facing this problem, we cannot always do it without just try and error things. Just like what I did with my team is that we every time we face problem, because we start up, we have many problems day to day, and we come together to get the meeting and to identify the problem among us, and we throw up, we call it brainstorming how to solve the problem, and then we divide into a little team to try the different hypotheses and to prove which solution is the best to solve the problem. And other thing is that we suggest that we have to work as a team with different discipline. We call it interdiscipline cooperation. Just like every week we have a different meeting with different team member in different background, such as we scientists, engineer, and even designer, marketing colleague. Because what we think is, even our company is doing scientific medical things, but because what we due to our education background, maybe we will limit our thinking is in our own discipline. So when we group a different background of teammates, so they can we can cooperate with a different mindset to tackle the problem in a scientific ways. So I think the scientific thinking path, the logic, the identification of problem, hypothesis, and then the proof of the working solution. And also we have to work as a team with different education background people to solve it. It will lead to I don't want to say innovation, but we can solve many of the problems.
Okay, so solving problems, I think, is one of the things that science is very well equipped to try and do. So I think that gives people with a scientific training a bit of an edge. I would like to think that leaders with science backgrounds would tend to be front runners and would actually strive to foster innovation. Data, from your experience, can you tell me how leaders with science training can make an impact in industry or on the community?
Okay, yeah. And I think the short answer is, and we need to have a human-centric mindset with innovative approach. Just for samples, we are in the age of AI, artificial intelligence. I can show you one of the interesting trend of AI is, robots are become more humans, but humans are become more robotics. Just like we are more relying on machine, on technology, on stick with our mobile phones. There's a few examples. Just say there's a robot called Robot Sophia. There's a false robot. They have a passport. And there's a virtual AI singer called Jaya. He's still Miku. And she is first singer with completely automated by AI and computer. And she could make songs and sing by herself. And also, the US adults average spend near 4 hours per day on mobile phone in 2019. It's double than that of in 2014. So it is a serious problem. We are become more robots. So the leaders with science background has to be with more human-centric mindset with the help of technology to solve our problems. So just one of the examples is for Microsoft, they are building a framework that the engineer need to build a responsive AI so that the human-centric mindset need to build on that. And for science training, we learn the patterns and rules and theory from nature and universe. So the impact of the leader with science training help us to understand how to connect human with nature or connect among humans. Just like for social, we connect human to system like government and individuals, human to human relationships. For business, we build on the relationship B2B, business to business, and business to customer. For nature, we'll build with a relationship with human to system, just like individual to nature, and human to human, just like the medical system among individuals. So for the leaders with innovation mindsets, so we have to think of how to build or train ourselves more innovative. One of the things is the best thing is with the leader with training, with science training is we think problem and solution in the first principle and question it, just like how to see the old things in a new or different perspective. For example, for SpaceX, the Elon Musk, he built it. They built a disposable rocket and reusable rocket. The question Elon Musk asked is, why don't a rocket, it need to travel longer distance with more fuel? So he built a reusable rocket to tackle this problem. And also, I think innovation comes with interdisciplines or core-discipline or called teacher people, or another term called expo journalist leader. Just like I teach it, it means I have one skilled expert. For example, for myself, I'm a physicist. I learn very well in physics, but also I learn many things in social science, economics, and business. So this transferable skill from science subject to other fields. So I think one of the good things for Faculty of Science of Hong Kong U is we allow the science student to major in the non-science faculty majors, just like economics, social science, and even some engineering subjects. So, and that's my sharing.
Thank you very much. That's some great examples there, Data. Kenneth, do you have anything to share with us on this point?
Yeah, I got a little bit of sharing to how to foster innovation, right? The first thing I think the most important criteria for as a leader or good scientist is to be curious about what's happening among your daily life, because as we can see, many great scientific innovation has to begin with very we can say very small question. Some what we think is a normal situation in our daily life, but great leader or great scientists can notify this changes, and they are very curious about what's happening among them and start to think about why this thing will happen. This this is the first thing that great innovation happened. And then after that, I think the second point is to think out of the box. As what I said before, how to think out of the box is to not to limit by what is your education background. Great leader will usually discuss their question or discuss their problem with their friends, with other people with different education background, to know about others people's point of view, and to let them to think out of their own education background. And the third thing I think is the most important thing is the persistence, because great science or great idea, innovation is not cannot be built up in 1 or 2 days. They have to keep to be persistent, to keep try and error, or to keep when they fail with their fail with their research or fail with their experiment. They have to keep to try and try and try, and one day the great innovation will come out. And that's what I think great scientists or great leader, how they generate innovation.
That's great. Your last point there reminds me of I think it's a quote from Albert Einstein, who said that the work was kind of 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So I think that's chimes with your point about persistence, I think. So I think those are really important points. So, but leaders need other qualities, and I'm being innovative, being curious are some of the traits of science graduates. But what other qualities might leaders need these days? VESTA, perhaps?
Sure. So just maybe saying through to the team of young leader today as well, I can share just one anecdote that shaped me as a young professional right now. I remember one time in my one of my first large scale project coming out of HKU as well. It was more of a consulting type of project, presenting what would be a recommended strategy to address the awareness, the very low awareness of certain diseases in this particular market. So I had to research on that and present what would be a recommended strategy in front of leaders from different countries. And these are veterans of 10 years, 20 years of experience as well. And I remember going into the room thinking, am I really the right person to do this? What do I know that these people who's had far more experience than me don't, right? And it's a feeling that I think a lot of us as a fresh graduate as well, coming out of college, as a young leader as well, will come across or have come across as well, or are currently going through or familiar with as well. So I think my advice in terms of the qualities that we should possess is to, one, push through, because I think you would be surprised by how much skills that you have accumulated by the end of that project, or by the end of that, by the way that you have undertaken that challenges as well. But the second one is to, and the most important thing I believe, is to have that to show that you are vulnerable as well, and to for you to be willing to have a vulnerable conversations as well with your colleagues and within your team as well, because it allows you to show that you have integrity and that you are worthy of trust from others as well. Because once you're able to have that conversation with your managers as well, that you may not necessarily know everything, and you may not necessarily be able to solve all of the questions that you have in front of you as well. These people surrounding you will be there not to judge you, but to help you figure out as well the answer to that challenges that you are facing right now together. So I think vulnerability and being vulnerable is important as well, because it's really the willingness to show up and be seen by others in the face of uncertain outcomes. And it's a single act of courage. And I would really recommend for young leaders as well to start showing that you may not have the answers to everything. And further on later as a leader as well, when you lead people or when you have people directly reporting to you, because I think creating this culture is very important. It really allows for collaboration, and that's when also creativity starts to thrive.
That's a really good answer. I can certainly tell you that you know, even as a dean, I frequently get to a point where I just have to admit that I don't know the answer. So it's not just restricted to young graduates, but believe me. Desmond, do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, I think there are 3 key qualities to be an effective leader. First is, I agree, is willing to listen. A leader is nothing without a good team. Willing to listen is very important because we may not know all the answer. Always keep in your mind, seek first to understand, then to be understood. I think with a good and effective team, I think success rate for the project or for the task will be like 5 to 6 times higher. Because often the problem, like leader always think they know everything and their experience can make them success. But it's important to listen around with surrounding a team whose opinion you trust, and they are not afraid to disagreeing with you. So in the end, you have to listen to your team and empower them. So willing to listen to your team is the first criteria we have. Second, I think the quality is about be open-minded and keep learning. The world are changing. When I was young, people are using cell phone like Nokia and Sony. At that time, I cannot even imagine people are now using smartphone like Apple and Samsung. So be open-minded, stay hungry and stay foolish. Keep yourself learning. I am also learning like coding and law recently. And nowadays, more and more MNC are talking about AI and digitalization. I think it's good for us to equip ourselves with new knowledge, even it may not relevant to your work or to you. So I quote like Steve Jobs mentioned, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them backwards. So you have to believe these dots will connect. So be open-minded and learn some knowledge for you. So when I learn coding, I'm currently like maybe help company to do like digitalization projects. So you never learn the knowledge and be open-minded with to learning new things. The third one is focus on what you can control. It seems easy, however, it is not, because, for example, if you are selling product, many people may complaining now how people these days don't appreciate good product, or government have tons of regulation. But it's really important to focus on what we can control, like how to improve product or make customer to love it. Take the example to now COVID-19. I believe most of the business, like retail business, are impacted. Tourists are gone. Majority of our revenue are no longer contributing. Instead of worrying about the situation, we should focus on something we can control. Maybe any good ideas or new normal, maybe like how to drive local consumption. So take some example, like local hotel, they lost the tourist income. They are promoting like staycation for the local consumption. So I think focusing on what we can control, be a proactive thing about what you can change, what is in your scope, and this also navigate all the challenge and crisis throughout the career. So these 3 criteria I think is quite important. One is willing to listen, be open-minded and keep learning. 3 is focus on what we can control.
What an excellent answer. Thank you very much. Yeah, I totally believe in the concept of kind of lifelong learning. You know, I've tried at various times to learn various computer languages to teach myself how to code. So I appreciate that can be quite a challenge on occasions. We've now kind of reached the part of this forum where we have been sent some questions by people, by our students and by the HKU community. And so we haven't given you any notice of these questions, I don't think. So just feel free to pitch in as you see fit and as you kind of answers occur to you. We've got 3 questions in total. First one is quite a long question. So it should be shown on your screen now. So can science professionals lead in science-orientated industries other than ones in which they have direct experience, or even in non-science domains? Say, can Dr. Angela Merkel, who's the first female German chancellor, and she has a sound background in quantum chemistry, can she present information in the medical and biological sciences? I would have to admit that I've been quite impressed by Angela Merkel's response and leadership during the coronavirus pandemic. And actually, I think that I can remember a few weeks ago her giving quite a good description of what the reproductive rate R0 means. So I think my answer to this question would be that I think she in particular very much could. But I don't know if anyone else around our virtual table would like to try and answer for that question.
Yeah, I may try to answer it. Yeah, for me, my background, my bachelor and PhD is studying in physics, but now I start a biotechnology education startup. So I need to learn all the things from the scratch, and I need to consult the other experts about in this field. So I think for a science profession who is not in the field he or she working on is still very okay. And also in the Faculty of Science, there are many alumni who study in science, but they are the professional and the leaders in different industries like economics, econ and finance and accounting, and even some in law. So I think it still works.
Yeah, I can build on because my bachelor is about statistics and risk management. I think if you can master statistics and risk management, basically you can master like economic, finance is simple mathematics rather than like statistics is you need to do correlation. I think even the logical deduction, what I mentioned in the previous question, scientific mindset basically can help us solve all the problem in the business world. Also, even like you say law it require logical deduction. So I think the science background foundation can help us to cater even the non-science domain and knowledge. I think it's the thing we can learn and we can reapply quickly, which science can help us.
Yeah, and then I see it as well all the time within the healthcare industries as well. The fact that, for example, a certain therapeutic area leaders as well who's had training in, let's say, oncology, for example, leading the commercialization of drugs in a different therapeutic area. So, for example, immunology as well. And we see them all the time, and we see them doing so well as well. With leading that unit and leading with a very sound strategy as well. So I think really the most important thing is for you to understand, to have a deep understanding of the science as well. But again, leading also require a combination of both science and business and all of the politics behind it as well. So on top of that, you have to have also a deep understanding of the business itself. So just being able to communicate and combine both of the knowledge together, I think it's important, and it doesn't always necessarily have to require a formal training in that specific areas of expertise, but you need to still have that deep understanding.
Yeah. So and also one of the important thing for scientific education, I think, is to teach the student how to self-learn. Self-learning is very important in science, such as what I know data in person, and he is a very good example. That what he said, he majored in physics and now running a biotech company. So because I know him in person, he's a very fast self-learner. He learned many other subjects very fast. So this is the thing that I think is what a scientific professional that is always can lead to can take a lead in other industry outside science.
That's fantastic. I always say that coming to university is your opportunity to learn how to learn. So I think that makes sense with what you just said, Kenneth. I hope. The second question that we have here is, how can graduates develop their leadership in a sustainable way? Should they equip themselves with science training for leaders to be leaders after graduation? Anyone got an insight into this question?
Yeah, I may start.
I would say, I'll say something and give you time to have a few thoughts maybe. I would say that it's my strong belief that people can lead from anywhere. So you can show leadership at the top of an organization or at any part of the organization. And leadership is a mindset. It's a way of behaving and a way of thinking that doesn't necessarily have to come from the person at the very top of the pyramid.
Yeah, I could add on about that. And I think one of the way to build on leadership in addition to your career is volunteering. You can volunteer to take care of the elderly, and there are many organizations offer such volunteering. And in volunteering, you can build on the leadership to guide or lead other volunteers. So it's one of the way to learn how to do leadership outside the school.
Yeah.
Great.
No, I totally agree with you, Data, as well. I think it's there are so many different opportunities that you can show your leadership as well. You don't necessarily have to be a leader to show your leadership as well. You don't have to have people reporting directly to you. And I think on top of that as well, it's important because leadership development is an ongoing basis. It's not just a one-time thing where you get certificates in leadership and then you become a leader. It's something that you continuously learn as well. So from that perspective, I would say that network is very, very important. So in order to become a good leader, you need to learn from a good leader as well. So I think it's important for you to start recognizing around you as well who exemplifies that qualities of a good leader as well. Do you have anyone who can guide you, can hold you accountable, but also responsible for your growth and your learning as well? It doesn't always have to come from your boss or your manager, but having that network of people who shows and exemplifies these leadership skills, I think is very important. And that's how you ensure that you continuously grow and sustain that learning development as well along the way.
Yeah, for me, I think for graduate, it may not have any subordinate, but I think for them, they may work with other teammates or may get a project with different people. So I think for leadership, they can take the opportunity to take the lead, think about how to do the project or teamwork, and think about how you empower them. So you go back to the question, you need to be willing to listen to others and keep learning on different things so you can bring out the best, empowering them, and also you learn about like communication, how to solve issue. And about the second one is, do they need to equip them with science training? I think the science foundation is like problem solving. So every day we are applying problem solving skill set. Keep in mind is for science, we use data-driven and evidence-based. Like what I read from some journals, long-term success for a company is mainly based on the objective data rather than subjective insight and opinion. This linked to what we learn from science training. So in the future, when graduate into different company or different industry, using the evidence-based and data-driven and make the logical deduction, I think it can grow your leadership skill and also solve any issue after graduation.
I think you guys have the perfect answer, so I have nothing to add.
I would like to add one more point for the graduates. I think the Hong Kong U have several good alumni associations, like the Hong Kong U Alumni Association, Hong Kong U Graduate Association, and even the Faculty of Science, we have the alumni associations, so that the fresh graduate can recognize some good leader to make friends with them and recognize them as a mentor, something to learn the leadership from them.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The final question is, how can leaders make decisions in a world of fake news? So this is another topical point. You know, we don't have to just talk about coronavirus, I suppose, although it seems to dominate our world. Fake news has become something that we should all be concerned about. How can leaders make decisions in a world of fake news?
Let's say how I every day we get many news like from Facebook or other source from the internet. Let's say how I try to distinguish whether this is true or the fake news. What I do is just like what I did in my PhD. I will look for the source of the news to kind of determine whether how high chance of it to be a fake news, and then I'll drill on the news itself and try to maybe Google it or to search for any clue whether other thing will influence and get the result of this kind of news. So this is a process of what I call is scientific thinking and logical thinking. So I think we have to go through with good scientific training and good scientific background. I think people can kind of distinguish whether this is true news or fake news.
So I think you know, trying to authenticate the sources of information is a very good technique, and I think as scientists we're used to, you know, expecting some kind of authenticating reference for a statement. We don't tend to take things on face value. I wonder if there's anything else, and anyone else got any other insights into fake news?
Yeah, and Desmond, you first.
I think 2 points. One point is, like Ken mentioned, is due diligence. I think science, we are curious about everything, so we do due diligence, like searching in Google or looking at the financial reports. So when you have lots of source of news, you can consolidate them and do the due diligence. So I think one is doing due diligence can help to identify if there is any gap versus different kind of source data. Then you're curious about to know the background or understanding the details of it. Second is the science thinking. I think we are more data sensing is quite good. So when the different kinds of source put together, like fake news, then you can have a quick sense about, is it true? What is your thinking about that? Then you can have a way or direction to look for the answer or do some test and learn. I think these two is important for leaders to make decision with a lot of data source. You are not sure they are true or fake.
Yeah, and in addition to verify the source of the news or any new things, I think one of the things is really to criticize whether the news is make sense or logical, and also I think the leader can build some habits to make you to defend the fake news, just like you read the news from the newspaper website rather than from Facebook or Twitter, because those things based on the big data, so that you have you are inside echo chamber. So there's one of the way I used it to read. I read at least 2 local newspaper per week, and 1 global newspaper per week. So this helps us to learn the latest news.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we've got just a few minutes left, and I wondered whether I could just invite each of you in turn to make a kind of personal reflection on your time at HKU, and perhaps tell our listeners and watchers, maybe some key experiences or knowledge or anything or skills that you acquired while you were at the University of Hong Kong that have, in hindsight, stood you in good stead in your career so far.
Maybe I try first. I get into Hong Kong U in 2002 and live in 2014. It's a total of 12 years for me in Hong Kong U, from bachelor to PhD. Besides very good education, the science education I got, one of the most important and what I treasure the most is who I knew during this 12 years. All of my classmates and my hallmates. Why I say this is because during my business venture, when I faced many different problems, the friends that I met during my U life, they help me a lot, and this is what true friends that you knew from your student time that can help you, because what I said before is they got different education background, different thinking logic that will help me to tackle many daily and business problems. So this is what I can say is very important that I got in Hong Kong U.
So you're saying it's your kind of friendship network and companions that you acquired in your 12 years in the University of Hong Kong?
Yeah. For me, I think first is the department and faculty gave the science foundation training, I think, which is helpful for me to success in career after graduation for various roles like in consulting or in FMCG field. I think it trained me to solve any problem using like the scientific training we talk about. Second is the Hong Kong U trained me don't afraid getting failure or doing something wrong. I think they encouraging students or graduating to try different things. That's why you can see we are have different aspects like data or Kenneth doing different startup and leading the pioneer of different industry. I think is keep learning or keep something new. Don't afraid we are getting failure. So I think one of them is like keeping the passion of what we did in the undergraduate or in Hong Kong U, and keep going in after graduate and keep the passion like that.
Yeah. Also, what's really been very, very important for me during my time, 4 years in HKU, is really that I found a way in terms of having a balanced way of developing yourself as well. So my time in HKU, I think it's all about a very holistic personal growth and development. Scientific and academic training is obviously very helpful as well, because right now I work every day with claims in scientific journals, making sure that all the communication surrounding our drugs and surrounding the diseases and treatment options as well are truthful. And it's something that healthcare professionals can also rely on as well. But also I see that my peers being involved as well in different societies during my time in HKU, which really helped build my leadership skills as well. It also forced me to also become better, join societies as well, and also help me hone my leadership skills there, because I could recall that there isn't anyone that wasn't involved in any sort of organizations or societies as well. There's always one thing for everyone as well, be it in a science society, being a student ambassador, or being in a volunteering organization. But it really helped you. All of these options are there for you, and you could just join any one of it, and it really helped you build that network that still is very, very strongly it's a very strong connections right after graduations as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I spent also a decade for my PhD and bachelor at Hong Kong U. I was also being the executive committee members of Student Association of Lee Shao Ki Hall, and I also lived in Star Hall when I was in PhD. So in addition to the science knowledge I learned in Department of Physics, I also learned many leadership skills to how to lead in different organizations. And also I am very actively involved in many graduate associations in Hong Kong U. So I suggest the fresh graduates, and your life in Hong Kong is not just end after graduate. You can still input in the graduation association, just like you can simply donate to Hong Kong U and Faculty of Science and input as volunteer or as a mentor in different mentorship program, and even offer interns and graduate job as you are a boss of something. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. I think one of my favorite things about being the Dean of Science is that I get to interact with, the 2,500 young people that we have going through the Faculty of Science at any one time, and very many of those have some fascinating and amazing experiences that they are sometimes at least willing to tell me about, and I'm really pleased that you've been able to share your thoughts with us today. I'm really glad to see that you're thriving and see our alumni thriving in all their various walks of life and wherever they are in the world. I think people get inspired by experiences and thoughts expressed by intellectual minds, and I'm certain that our students will benefit a lot from the last hour that we've had being able to talk together. So I'd like to thank VESTA, Data, Kenneth and Desmond for sharing your thoughts with us today. I'd like to thank our fresh graduates and students and anyone else who's happened to have stumbled across this forum, on whichever medium they might have found it. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for expressing your thoughts. Have a great evening. Stay safe and stay vigilant. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.